Good morning, good night. I'm not sure whenever you're listening to this podcast. My name is Kikora. My podcast is Mothering It Out, and I'm doing my podcast a little different today. I decided that since we are mothers and we're always doing stuff with our children and ourselves, I decided to read a book first to kind of wind down the children or wind down with whatever you're doing. The book I picked is Mr. Tickle by Roger Hargreaves. This book is a part of the Mr. Mean series. The Mr. Men series. It came out in 1971. Again, this book is Mr. Tickle by Roger Hargreaves. It was a warm, sunny morning in his small house at the other side of the wood. Mr. Tickle was asleep. You didn't know that there was such a thing as a tickle, did you? Well, there is. Tickles are small and round, and they have arms that stretch and stretch and stretch, extraordinarily long arms. Mr. Tickle was fast asleep. He was having a dream. It must have been a very funny dream because it made him laugh out loud, and that woke him up. He sat up in bed, stretched out his extraordinarily long arms, and yawned an enormous yawn. Mr. Tickle felt hungry. So do you know what he did? He reached out one of his extraordinarily long arms, opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen door, reached into the kitchen cupboard, opened the biscuit tin, took out a biscuit, brought it back upstairs, in through the bedroom door, and back to Mr. Tickle in bed. As you can see, it's very useful indeed having arms as long as Mr. Tickle's. Mr. Tickle munched his biscuit. He looked out of the window. Today looks very much like a tickling day, he thought to himself. So later that morning, after Mr. Tickle had made his bed and cooked his breakfast, he set off through the wood. As he walked along, he kept his eyes wide open, looking for somebody to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. Eventually, Mr. Tickle came to a school. There was nobody about. So, reaching up his extraordinarily long arms to a high window ledge, Mr. Tickle pulled himself up and peeped through the open window. Inside, he could see a classroom. There were children sitting at their desks and a teacher writing on the chalkboard. Mr. Tickle waited a minute and then reached in through the window. Mr. Tickle's extraordinarily long arm went right up to the teacher, paused, and then tickled. The teacher jumped in the air and turned around very quickly to see who was there, but there was nobody there. Mr. Tickle grinned a mischievous grin. He waited another minute and then tickled the teacher again. This time he kept on tickling until soon the teacher was laughing out loud and saying, stop it, over and over again. All the children were laughing too at such a funny sight. There was a terrible pandemonium. Eventually, Mr. Tickle thought that he had had enough fun. So he gave the teacher one more tickle for luck and then very quietly brought his arms back through the open window, chuckling to himself. He jumped down from the window, leaving the poor teacher to explain what it was all about, which of course he couldn't. Then Mr. Tickle went to town. And what a day Mr. Tickle had! He tickled the policeman on traffic duty at the crossroads in the middle of town. It caused an enormous traffic jam. He tickled the greengrocer just as he was piling apples neatly in his shop window. The greengrocer fell over backwards and the apples rolled all over the shop. At the railway station, the guard was about to wave his flag for the train to leave. As he lifted his arm in the air, Mr. Tickle tickled him. And every time he tried to wave his flag, Mr. Tickle tickled him until the train was 10 minutes late, leaving the station, and all the passengers were furious. That day, Mr. Tickle tickled everybody. He tickled the doctor, he tickled the butcher, he even tickled old Mr. Stamp, the postman, who dropped all his letters into a puddle. Then Mr. Tickle went home, sitting in his armchair in his small house at the other side of the wood. He laughed and laughed every time he thought about all the people he had tickled. So if you are in any way ticklish, beware of Mr. Tickle and those extraordinarily long arms of his. Just think, perhaps he's somewhere about at this very moment while you're reading this book. Perhaps the extraordinarily long arm of his is already creeping up to the door of this room. Perhaps it's opening the door now and coming into the room. Perhaps before you know what is happening, you will be well and truly tickled. And see, that was a good book. I love that book. Again, that was a part of the Mr. Men series by Roger uh, Hargreaves. Um, but back on another note, after I read that good book, children should be calmed down if you're reading this podcast with kids. That was a really good book. A really good book to have a discussion about what Mr. Tickle did, what he did wrong, how would you change your day about with Mr. Tickle. A good little, you know, um, social talk, social event that you can have with the kids. But really, what I want to talk about on this podcast, Mothering It Out, I want to talk about just getting peace, mothers. We need to get peace. We need to find a way to have that um, piece of our time. We need to find a way to just um, get time to ourselves. We also need to find a way to just relax. We need to find me time. We need to find a middle space. I know for me, I've recently just started at 3 o'clock. I get in that bathtub and I relax. Everybody is asleep. I know 3 a.m. is early in the morning, but that's my me time. And it's only a 30-minute bath. I get all my little Dr. Teal stuff in the bathtub and I relax. That's my me time. I don't let anybody mess up my me time. I mean, there are times that I don't get that 3 o'clock bath, and I can tell when I don't get my 3 o'clock bath because the day is kind of hectic. But I try to get that me time in. I try to get that time where it's like, hey, this is your downtime. This is your time to self reflect. Because mothers, at times, we don't even self reflect. We don't even have a time where we, just quiet our brains. We're always thinking about something. We're always up. We're always running around. Another reason why I want this podcast to be somebody's way out, somebody's helping hand, um, because we don't always have that way. Everybody thinks we're Superwoman. We're the hero. You know, we're the Marvel character. We're Paw Patrol. We have become all the Disney princesses. We're everything. We're the Tickle Man. That's another reason why wanted to start reading books with this podcast because a lot of times we're with our kids half of our day. Even if you go to work, I know because my mom used to do it. I went to work with my mom. I still go everywhere, a lot of places with my mom, but I'm older now. But as a kid, I remember doing a lot with my mom. Moms, we do a lot. And I know, you might be with someone as a father, they do a lot, but moms, we carry a lot on our backs. So we need to find that time, even if you have to get a journal. Um, I know recently I just heard about your yellow person. That's somebody you can talk to about anything, no judgment. That sounds like a therapist to me. If you need to get a therapist, that is great. Go talk to somebody. Go just have that time. Go take a walk. Uh, Eat your favorite snack. I know I just recently had a time where I got celery and peanut butter, and I went on the town with that celery and peanut butter because that was my peace. I was like, oh my goodness, I had so many good memories with this celery and peanut butter, and that was my peace moment. So, I mean, as mothers, we do so much and we never ever think about ourselves. And it's okay to be selfish. Don't ever think that if you're selfish, it's not, you're just a bad person. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. It's okay to sit in the car, have your celery and your peanut butter to yourself, have your bag of M&Ms to yourself. Nobody else can touch that. That's yours. It's okay to do that because you give so much of yourself. I mean, we have to realize that we have given so much of ourselves. We have given, I mean, we gave our bodies to bring life into the world. And I mean, it's kind of upsetting that they're taking a lot of our choices away from us because of, the different rights that are going on and because you have so many men wanting to be us, and it's getting a little bit harder for mothers. But as someone who is a mother and someone who, you know, I love my role as a mother. It's it's heartbreaking that people don't look at us as, we're warriors. We are queens in our own light. I mean, anytime you can, even if you didn't bring life into the world, if you are taking care of somebody else who you didn't give life to, that is, I give kudos to you too. I know that a couple of my social media moms, somebody was talking about that, how, you know, it's not always about the mothers who give birth. It's sometimes the mothers who step up and take time to just give a helping hand to those who don't have a mother like that. I mean, I know I've been blessed with a mother like that, but it's a lot of people who don't know what that mother figure looks like, who don't know what it is to have somebody, to to protect them basically. I mean, and it's sad to say, but everybody is not asked to be born. They're not asked to be here. And I always tell my daughter, I stress this more. If you get older and you feel like you don't want to have children, don't have children. Don't put yourself in a situation where, you feel like I gotta have a child. Don't even put yourself in a situation where that's going to be a mistake. I mean, no child is a mistake. They're all blessings, but just don't put yourself in that position. And I mean, there are a lot of times that we look at people, oh, this is your child, you had this child. But in a lot of times, they were put in a position where what else could they do? They didn't have any guidance to say there are other options. You don't have to choose this option. So I give mad kudos up to those women who didn't birth any children, but are giving guidance to other women and being that little whisper in their ear to help them along the way. And I give mad kudos up to mothers who are working together to raise children because women, we need a support system. I don't care how strong you think you are, how much of a superhero you think you are. We need a support system of our own. We we still need help. I mean, raising children is hard. And a lot of people look at us like, "Oh, these are your children. You should just be able to do it." But there's a lot of mental stress that goes on, a lot of spiritual stress that goes on, and we still need help. I mean, you never ever get too old for help. And I think a lot of times people forget that. People forget that even though we're mothers and even though we're taking care of other people, and yes, this is my responsibility, I still need support. I still need help. I still need someone to say, hey, you got this. You can do this. I still need someone to ask me, hey, do you need anything? I'm here for you. We still need people in our corner. And a lot of times we don't have that in our corner. And then that's a lot of times where the problem comes in. I mean, there there's a lot of times where people says, "Well, what went wrong?" Sometimes what went wrong is people didn't see this person as a person. They just saw them as a mother. And that's what goes wrong a lot. A lot of times we don't see people as people. We see them as just the role that they are put in. And that is what's heartbreaking about mothers. That's what's heartbreaking about women. And that's why I'm always an advocate for sitting girls down and just talking. Just talk to them. Just see what their problems are. See what they're going through as teenagers. Because sometimes what they went through, we could have went through, and it could have went a different way. I know in my situation alone, my daughter, and I'm praying she never goes through the heartbreak, the abuse, anything that I went through. But her stories, my my experience can help her stories. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Because us having a real good, just dialect, and us talking, and us, being on a basis where she can open up, will help her along the way, and it will help her see that you're not making mistakes. You're just making choices that are helping you to grow. And I think that's a lot of times where we get a lot of stuff wrong. I know I feel like I'm rambling here because I don't really have a script to go off of today. This is just a podcast that I really feel like I should do because I think a lot of us mothers, we forget about us. We put ourselves in this big mother bubble and we forget about self. We forget about self care. We forget about mental health. We forget about physical health. And then it's just like we go on with our day and we're mothers. That's who we are. And I think it's time for us to just sit back and, you know, be people. Just sit back and at one point, be a child again. Go somewhere where you went as a child and you felt happy. Do something that made you feel happy as a child. I think that a lot of times we forget that we were children at once. We were not always adults. We were not always mothers. And then sometimes we forget that we were teenagers. And a lot of that is because we did so much stuff that we're ashamed of. We don't want to go back and remember. But a lot of the stuff that we did built us to be these strong mothers that we are now, built us to be the strong women that we are now. And I think we forget that. I think we forget that our experiences made us who we are. And that's why we need to talk to our children. That's why we need to have a support group of our own and talk to other mothers. Because sometimes other mothers can help you and, just help you Maybe get something organized, maybe get something out of the way. I mean, I'm always talking to people at my church. And again, I'm not trying to turn this into, uh, a religion thing or you got to go to church thing, but I'm always at church and I'm always talking to my first lady. I'm always talking to the women of the church. Just recently, I was talking to one of the mothers of the church, and it's like you learn things from them just talking to them. I know one of the ladies at the church was talking about how to get your house clean in 40 days. She was like, 40 items for 40 days will help you. Well, not 40 items, but she was saying 40 bags in 40 days will help you get your house clean. And I was like, wow, that's a good tip that I can use for today. I mean, for next month, I could use that, you know, because I need help organizing. My house is not the cleanest, it's not the messiest, but we need help. I mean, I was at Coney Islands talking to some girls, and we were just giving cleaning tips about how to clean the bathroom. It's good to talk. It's good to remember that we are people and we need help too. We do not need to wear this badge of pride to where it's so big that we forget that we need a support system as well. And that's why I want this podcast to be your safe circle to just listen. Or if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. Um, you know, I have an email address, luv76c at gmail.com. If you have a topic that you want to talk about, I'm definitely up for topics. I don't always have a topic that I want to talk about. I was just passionate about this topic because there's a high number of women taking their children out. There's a high number of women taking themselves out. And a lot of women I know lately, we're depressed because, we have those thoughts of checking out, but because we're stressing about, okay, who's going to take care of my children when I leave here, we stay. And sometimes it's sad, but we stay and we get through, we push through, but we push through without having to talk to anyone, without having a support group, without having just an outlet to just express ourselves. A lot of us are like soda cans or pop bottles. We at any time we're ready to explode, and it's not good. I think we need to stop doing that. We need to stop, being ready to explode. We need to get away from that. We need to start having a time to ourselves so that we don't explode. So that we don't explode on our children. We don't explode on the family members. We don't explode on friends. We just need to have that time. And if this is the space for it, I want this space to be here for you. I mean, sit down, listen to some good calming music. I know every day I listen to mental music, and mental music has helped. Mental music will help you get through some stuff. It will calm you down, bring you to a point where you can, look at all your things different. Look at your day different. I know, like I was saying, those 3 o'clock baths. I just recently started cleaning up my room, decluttering it, and it's all because I got that space. I got that time to myself to rethink about what I could do better. I mean, when you get that time to yourself, you can think about how can I, you know, do things for a better, do things for a change. It's just all about self. You need to think about self. Be selfish for once in a while. That's the real point that I'm trying to make. Be selfish because being selfish, it could save your life, or just that one day. Even if you need to get a babysitter, say, hey, I need to just check out for a day or an hour. You don't have to check out for a whole day. Check out for a whole hour and be like, I need this time. Because I know I watched this, I used to watch this show on Netflix. I can't remember the name of the show, but it was for mothers. And the one mom was, they were in a therapy session where they had a sit down therapy session. And the one mom said, I don't want to get in a car crash where I die or kill myself. I just want to get in a car crash so I can go to the hospital and just take a nap. Not a long nap, but long enough to just get some rest and relaxation. And I was like, I think that's a lot of us. And I'm not. I mean, she was. That was just a joke. But a lot of us are like, can I get a hospital visit just one day? Because a lot of us, that's when we get our time to ourselves at the hospital. I know when I went to the hospital, the doctor was like, hey, you got to sit down. You're going to be here for a few days. You can't leave. You can't be with your kids. You're going to be here for a couple of days. And it's sad to say, but that's when I got the most rest. Even though I was stressed out about being away from my children and not being able to go home, I got the most rest. I slept so long from the time I got there, from the time it was time to leave. I mean, I got up periodically to check on the kids, to see what was going on at home, but it was just sleep and relaxation. And we shouldn't have to go to the hospital to get sleep and relaxation. We should do it on our own, without having to charge our insurance. We should just get some time to ourselves on our own. And I mean, that's that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Um, my time is almost up. I don't like to make this podcast too long because this is for mothers. Again, Um, this is Mothering It Out. If you have any topics you want me to talk about, you have anything you want me to look into and talk about on my podcast, again, my email address is luv76c, C as in cat, at gmail.com. The book I read was Mr. Tickle. It's a part of the Mr. Men series by Roger Hargreaves. It came out in 1971. It was a good book that I used to read. I hope you mothers get time out to yourselves. I hope you get time to rest. I hope you get relaxation time. And I just hope that this was something that helped you get that time. Again, this is my podcast. I'm Kikora. I'm mothering it out. I'm about to get back to my mother life, get back to doing what I do as a mother. And I will see you guys on a later date. Bye.